guys, just a heads up, before I start this video, this is a new format I'm planning to do from now on. Instead of me doing these kind of videos where I start off with me just merely explaining what goes on, which I'm still technically doing, but it will be kind of different because I'm not going to be doing it script-wise anymore. I'm actually going to be doing the intros where I'm just explaining about it, just completely improv. So, it feels more natural because, I don't know, I just never really liked me doing these just doing these script-wise. It kind of gets a little bit confusing when I'm trying to read it all down and stuff. It's already hard enough for me to do these readings as is, and trying to do the intros can be a little bit difficult. Like, I'm still going to do that for, like, when I do these, what do you call them? These, like, TV and game reviews, of course, and other reviews, because you just kind of have to. You kind of have to set it in, otherwise you don't know what's going on. But these readings, you can get the gist, and especially since I'm giving you a heads up of what it is. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get this wish list video started. So this is my wish list 2 collection, and well, this is probably going to be one of the easier videos I'm going to do since many of them are really short. And as you all know, I kind of like doing shorter videos because they're easy to get done. But without further ado, let's finally get this video done so I can get a bunch of other Christmas videos I'm going to get done over the season because stuff pops up. Let's start off with a Mario pasta. This one is pretty bizarre to say the least. Pretty much it's a troll pasta in my opinion because, well, pretty much a crappy one because this one is so weird. Starts off kind of, okay, we're kind of doing the horror kind of thing, and I got this bootleg, but it's kind of like trolling you there, but that's crappy because obviously it's saying, oh, well, all of a sudden this game put me into the game and now I'm a boo. Okay, I don't know how that works, but nevertheless, it happens. The main protagonist turns into a boo. Sorry for the spoilers, but that happens. This was a weird one to do. I was bored. I was super duper bored. It was January 4th, and my New Year's resolution was to finish all of my video games by today. Now that I've done that, I have no new things to play. All of a sudden, I got an email on my computer. I opened it. The email had no words in the front bar at the top. The subject was, "Get old bootleg SNES cartridges, only in today's e-auction." Intrigued at the sound of new video games, I went to the e-auction. The first few games I had no clue what they were, so I sort of got bored watching the screen. I was about to close the site when I saw the text saying Bootleg Super Mario World pop up. I decided to get it and won. 2 weeks later, I got the Super Mario World cartridge in the mail. I was once again intrigued when I saw most of the label was torn off the cartridge. The only letters not torn off were UERMRD. I immediately put all the letters together and tried to think of something. After a while, I came up with one word, myrrh. Obviously, I still put in the cartridge, something I still regret to this day. Not that I can feel depressed anymore. After all, doesn't the word on the cartridge say it all? I was going to stop here, but I suppose I can tell you how my fate came to be. After I put the cartridge in, the game started. Everything looked normal, except that the hills and the clouds had a slight reddish tinge to them. I opened the file selection, and there was a save file on the game array. The name of the file was Save File 1. I bet you weren't expecting that. Anyway, I loaded the file and went to the level with the first Yoshi in it. I was walking, as you may expect. I have played Super Mario World in some form or another, and I know that this wasn't there. There was a small red hill with a very dark red pipe on the top. The first thing somebody would think would be something like, something in a video game can't hurt me, it's just a video game. Those people can keep believing that. At the time, I believed that too. So I went down the pipe. I thought it would be some bootleg glitch secret. But something was wrong when I was falling for around 30 seconds. When I hit the ground, Bowser was there watching me. I was seriously freaked out, so I lunged for the power button. All of a sudden, text popped up on the screen saying, "You wouldn't want to do that, would you?" And the power button was deactivated. Mario and Bowser were on screen, glaring straight at me. More text pop up saying, "You want a surprise? Here." And Bowser pulled out a portal gun. He blasted the floor under me, and then he blasted above the lava. You can probably figure out what happened next. To this day, I'm a Boo guarding Bowser's castle. My home is in the 9th room. If any explorer finds my diary, share my story with the world. Bowser Castle Boo, number 453. So, Dead Mung is another weird one I had to do. It's pretty much like, it's you know what it is? It's all those gory ones you've ever seen. Pretty much any story with no real context. Oh wait, there's a character killing somebody, there's a character eating its guts, there's a character, scream for like 5 minutes, that kind of stuff. And it just kind of stops. Oh, also at the end, the guy who made the video turns out to be a murderer, murdered a bunch of kids, now he's in prison. Ooh. Oh, also the guy, for no reason whatsoever, won't explain why he made the video. You could just simply said, oh, this is just to show how I felt guilty, but no, nothing. We get nothing, because, you know, that went important to the story. Yeah, this story sucked. My cousin Morgan used to work at Cartoon Network. He used to produce episodes of such shows as Chowder, The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, and others along a Filipino girl named Maria Vera, another girl who was Korean descent. One day, he had an idea for an episode of Chowder entitled Dead Mung. He gave me the script and tape he made of Dead Mung. He told me that he had written the original script while Mara revised the mistakes and Vera had done the animation for the tape. Naturally, I was excited because he had never brought home anything from work before. Looking at the title, I thought it would be some morbid joke he made, and I figured it would turn out to just be a regular episode. When I did watch the tape, I was very dumbfounded. The original intro appeared as normal, except at the very end when the title was shown and it immediately cut to black afterwards. The usual clapping couldn't be heard either. Instead, there was a low growl that lasted for what felt like an eternity. It wasn't like a regular dog growling either. It sounded more like a combination between a wolf and a grizzly bear getting angry and the creature was about to rip someone's face off. Then the screen came up saying Dead Mung. It was nothing special, it was just some black text in a very fancy font against a blood red background, and then it showed Chowder trying to cook up something like starfish fruit pudding in the kitchen. As usual, he kept messing up the dish, getting more frustrated every time he fucked up and fucking up even more. At this time, Mung entered the kitchen. Thick heavy smoke, like the mist of dry ice, filled the air, because Chowder had burned whatever he was making. Mung, now very angry, started yelling at Chowder. "You son of a burger! What the heck are you trying to do here? Kill me? I'd like to see you try!" At that point, Chowder gouged out Mung's eyes with his bare hands, and blood began to pour profusely out of his master's eye sockets. He then shoved Mung into the oven. Mung struggled to get out and gasped for air, and then he asked one last thing. "What are you trying to make?" Chowder answered with, "Schnitzel." Mung burned to death in the oven. Chowder then took him out of the oven and went him cool. Then, after cooling, Chowder pulled out a butcher's knife from his back pocket and ripped out all of the intestines and organs. Someone, preferably a customer, came in at that moment and saw Chowder pull out Mung's innards. Chowder threw the butcher's knife, hitting the customer in the eyeball, skewering it. Chowder skinned Mung and threw it out. He began eating Mung with a demonic, demented, and contorted face while blood seeped out of his mouth. Truffles appeared and joined in on the feast. Chowder finished Mung and threw his bones away. Truffles then exited the room with blood dripping down her face. Chowder stared at the camera with that demonic, twisted look on his face for about 3 minutes. He screamed like a banshee chipmunk being tortured alive, and then the screen went to black. The text appeared in a plain dark blue font saying "The End" against a river of blood. I asked my cousin why he made this horrible cartoon. He didn't answer. A week later, I got a call from my puzzled aunt saying he had murdered several children and was going to go to prison for it. I told her about the cartoon he had made and how it was a Chowder cartoon that was never put on the air for obvious reasons. Now when I visit my cousin in prison, I try to ask why he made the cartoon. He still won't tell me, even to this day. So there's one guy who's been pestering me to do this pasta, and I'm like technically giving out the name, but given the link I'm gonna be showing you at the end of the video anyway, like at the end of this story, because he actually gave me the link, you're gonna figure out who he is anyway. This is, I can't even really describe what it is. This is probably one of the funnest, this is probably one of the most interesting stories I've done. Like, it's probably one of the more interesting stories I've had to read because I just went completely crazy with that one. But yeah, I'm like, oh my god, this happened, and then that happened, and blah blah blah. And it was pretty fun, pretty short, pretty straightforward. That's about it. It's pretty much all the stories are trying to be edgy and stuff, but don't have really any context. But it says, oh, there's this tag and screaming and blah and blah blah blah, and I'm mentally scarred. The end. Ooh. Yeah, it's just one of those stories. But yeah, there's technically a video. There's technically footage that someone made. So go check that out afterwards if you want. That's all I gotta say about that. I was a big fan of Mook and his very funny jokes and dumb stuff about him. However, I did not know about a video going around on YouTube and a video that was later banned from the Luke and Mook series. So I told my friend about the video and he said, oh god. And I said, what? The video is sickening, my friend said. But if you see the video, you can't turn back. So he sent me the video, and what I saw would scar me for life. So the video started with a blue screen with odd text that said, whatever this is. Confused, I watched. Suddenly, Stag came across the screen with corrupted music. I was shocked and confused. Then after 12 seconds, it showed me Mook without his face, and the music still played. It was freaky. And then cut back to the Stag, which was more scary, and it wouldn't stop. It was endless. It then switched black for 5 minutes, and I thought that was it. So then I went to see where my brother was, and he was playing a fan game called Julamani, one of my favorite games. And my brother was crying over the game by losing and smashing the keyboard. So then I went back to the video after about 5 minutes. It went back to Stag, and then it cut to Luke with his eyes closed. He then opened his eyes, and they were corrupted too, and then it went back to Stag. It then showed the screen flashing way too fast. I was really sick. Then I ran to the bathroom to vomit. In the other room, I heard a man saying, too much, over and over by a man laughing crazily. Then the sound stopped with a shotgun bang. All sounds stopped. I then stopped vomiting. And then I walked towards my room, and then I saw a disturbing yet creepy picture of Mook staring at my soul, which scarred me for life. It then went back to Stag, but the music was nowhere to be heard, so I called down. I was more okay after. After 20 seconds of silent Stag, it cut to Mook in the studio, and there was blood all over the wall, and very odd, as well as the corrupted music. It was louder than ever this time. I can't bear with this stuff. It was annoying. The corrupted music stopped, and the blood dripped down from the wall. I couldn't move from my seat. I was too scared. Then a little girl giggled. It went back to Stag. The corrupted music, which was twice as loud. I couldn't take it. I screamed for help, but for no luck. No one could hear me. The Stag was getting more sickening. The music cranked all the way up to a volume that could make you go deaf. The last shot was Mook behind a corrupted wall, and his face, his skin, his clothes were dark red, and his eyes were huge and corrupted to look red. Still with the music going corrupted after that. It was Stag for the remainder of the video. It ended finally. I am now scarred for life from the video, and when I sleep, I see that scary look that haunts my dreams today. So this ends my story. Here's a link to the video, found by Look Inspired Inc. But be careful. Watch at your own risk, or he'll be coming for you. This is a story made by like a caveman or someone who's obviously suffering brain damage. No, you know what? This is a story written by that one zombie from that Resident Evil game. Remember that Resident Evil remake they made back in 2002, and there was this diary entry where this guy was going from, you know, very normally, but then he started to started to go down and how intelligent he is, and you can tell by how he's writing and stuff. By the end, he's like, ooh, I want to eat brains, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is the guy who made that story, because I honestly don't know what's going on. The sentence is all weird, and it's not spelled correctly, and it didn't really make any sense in the long run. So this car that he got, it's not even a Lost Episode pasta, it's not game pasta, it's about toy cars, Hot Wheels, mind you. And they're these little cars, there's tiny innocent cars that can't do jack shit. So when he gets this box that's full of the cars that he used to love as a kid, whoever this guy is, one of them so glowy and shit, and that's about it. That's all it does, it glows. So he throws it in the toilet, and then it spits out, and it's on fire, and there's this page showing a picture or a sketch of his family dead, and it's smothered with poop or something. I didn't really understand the story. And then he throws it in the fire, and that's it. End of story. No cliffhanger, nothing that says, oh, I'll be back one day, or nothing that says that, you should still be afraid. No, it's just, that happened. Well, good night. That's exactly what happened. That's what happens in the story. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all I really can say. This is horrible. It doesn't even look like they even cared to proofread before they sent it out online. This is horrible. End of story. When I was a kid, I always loved Hot Wheels. I remember when I always got a big box full of 1900s and 1990s Hot Wheels. I collected some cars such as Fords, Corvettes, Cadillacs, and more. I loved them so much, and it's kind of like my hobby. But I was like 5 at the time. I remember these good old times. One day, I remember these great days. I tried looking for Hot Wheels box. I found it in the basement. Box was torn, broken. It was badly in horrible condition, but I didn't even care, as long as cars in there were fine. Their paint was kind of gone. Not really gone, just little spots, like groups of car or something, and I quickly noticed that car had glowing tire and body, but I ignored it and took it to second floor of my home. I took out one classic car from great old 1950s and started playing with it. And my box was growling. It was like dog growling in deep voice. I shut the lid and put it in my drawer, and I checked the time. It was 9. It went so fast, like all of Bizarre. And I went to bed, like usual, by 12 to be exact. My bed started to rumble. It was very strange, very strange. I went to bathroom. I thought I was farting hard. After bathroom, my room was glowing green. I noticed box lid was green, and I slowly opened it. I tried looking in green beam of source light, and it was like sun there. Then glowing stopped. It was hot rod version of 32 Chrysler, and it had open hoods. It had a huge blazing engine, and I looked at it and held it on my hand. And my hand started to ache for no reason at all. I dropped it in the toilet and flushed it, and it began flushing down, and car went down like a tornado, and all of a sudden it popped out with fire on it, and fire went away, and there were papers soaked with poops. Don't even ask me why, but I looked at paper. They were family. At first I didn't even know what it was at all, and it seemed like me and my family. We were skeletons at that point. Once again, it looked very real. I couldn't resist to throw away it. I stayed focused on the picture. Maggots were wriggling around holes in our flesh. Guts were spilling out of our bodies. My dad's eyeball was hanging loose from its socket. It was too much to bear, but something still made me to resist me from looking away. But I stared at 32 Chrysler. I thought about setting it on fire, and I checked my fireplace if it were blazing. And yes, it were. Very brightly. I was like, yes! I threw paper and 32 in fire and watched it burn it. Car melted like a metal and steel. I noticed there were sparks coming out of it. I'm not sure what was it, but it's done for now. And I went to bed, like if nothing happened. So this is the final story for what we're doing tonight. And I have to say, for what it is, it's definitely a lot more head-checked. There's definitely a lot more logic, maybe? There's definitely something that makes a little more sense. It's probably the most coherent story that we have tonight. So this guy gets a Spider-Man figure, it's all kind of deformed-ish, and he gets a free comic to go with it, and it turns out in that comic, something's going up with it. It seems that there's these weird imagery, Spider-Man's gone insane, he's killing people, he's killing his friends and family, and all that kind of stuff, and for some reason, it's not really specified, it's not really explained, but supposedly the figure he got earlier, the toy figure he got, I guess is kind of alive, because by the end it disappears with the comic book because the guy's obviously scared shitless of what he got. But somehow the toy's alive. You expect him to just only come out, but with a butcher's knife and slit his like throat or something, but that never happened, which is good because I've been stupid. Maybe it's cursed. Oh yeah, it turns out this comic was made by someone who really loves horror, and he wanted to get it published to Marvel, like as a horror storyline, which never happened because he died, but because of exhaustion. And somehow this guy, even though he has no way of being able to obtain said comic because he never gave out his address or anything, apparently gets another issue of the comic, even though the guy is supposedly dead. I don't know what happened in this story. I mean, it's more coherent, and I kind of figured out what was going on in the long run, but this doesn't make any sense. I mean, at all. I mean, how can you get another comic from someone who's dead? Is it because of the person he got from earlier in the toy store? Did he do something? Am I overthinking this? Probably. I don't know what's going on because this story doesn't acknowledge what's going on. With that said, this is probably one of the more coherent stories tonight, and an interesting one to stop at, so good for me. I always loved comics, especially superhero comics. I grew up reading Superman, Batman, Captain America, all that good stuff, but my absolute favorite was Spider-Man. So it's no surprise that I grew up to work at a comic book store. But that's not important. You want to know about the story. Well, one day after work, I stopped off at this little rundown toy store. The guy that ran the place looked about nonchalantly, almost as if I wasn't there. I looked around. There was a few nice collectibles on the shelves. But what really caught my eye was a strange action figure. It was a Spider-Man action figure, but unlike any I've ever seen. It was all red, its webbing patterns were disorganized, the spire was crooked, and looked like a real spire. Also, the lenses appeared to be broken. There were small painted cracks in the mask lenses. That unnerved me a bit, but I still thought it was cool. I bought it for a mere 50 cents, and a comic was given to me for free. "It comes with the figure," the store owner said. The only thing I ever heard him say while I was there. I left and brought it home to my apartment. I set the toy on a shelf with the rest of my personal collection. Yes, I'm a nerd. Get over it. You're here for the story, right? Anyway, I took the comic out of the bag and actually looked at it. It was creepy to say the least. It looked like an homage to Amazing Fantasy issue 15, Spider-Man's first appearance. The title read, The Forgotten Spider-Man issue 0. It looked like the action figure, but the person he was holding looked limp. His head at an unnatural angle, his eyes closed. It didn't say who wrote or illustrated it. No Comics Code Authority symbol, not even a Marvel logo. It started with Peter Parker, as per expectation, attending the radioactivity demonstration. I began to feel nostalgic as my eyes scanned the panels. The spider was caught in the radioactive energy, it landed on Peter's hand and it bit him. That was normal. But then I noticed something weird. More like frightening. Instead of just a bite, blood poured from the wound. It covered Peter's arm. He began screaming, begging for help as the others looked on in horror. His body became covered in red reminiscence of the carnage symbolite, and strange black cords ripped from his wrists and ankles, wrapping into the disorganized web pattern that I had seen on the toy. The spider that bit Peter crawled onto his chest and became part of his body. A scientist reached out to Peter, but Peter lashed out and attacked him, strangling the others with black webbing in a mindless rampage. Suddenly, I forgot that I was a 25-year-old man, and I, like a frightened child, whispered, "Spider-Man?" I continued reading. Spider-Man, if I could even call him that, started brutally murdering people. The blood on the page was such a deep shade of red, I almost thought it was ink with real blood. I had to put it down. I was getting sick to my stomach. Then something caught my eye. I turned to see. Sitting on top of my fridge was the toy. It was crouched in the trademark Spider-Man pose. It was freaky. I had just put it on my shelf, staying straight up. The cracked lenses looked at me, and not just positioned in my direction, it was literally looking at me. I didn't know how, but somehow I knew it wanted me to keep reading the comic, so I picked it up and opened it again. Spider-Man was still killing, but what I saw only made it worse. He was making his way to his home, ripping off Mary Jane's head and beating people with her spine along the way. I was getting horrified, and then, in a full splash panel, he had reached his home. He killed his Uncle Ben first, blind with rage, and then ripped his arm off, beating Aunt May to death with it. I was getting sick again. I could have sworn I heard laughing in the back of my mind. It was the end of the issue. I saw a preview for the next one, which showed Spider-Man holding what looked like to be Otto Octavius by the throat. I was grateful that this issue was over, but mortified by its contents. I turned to look over at the Spider-Man toy. It was gone. Then I felt the issue slip away. In a fraction of a second, the toy was gone, taking the comic with it. Oh, I sighed with relief, until a voice spoke in my mind, in a cruel, mocking tone. Till next time, true believers. It's been a month since this happened. I have learned that an artist who had attempted to submit his work, a full horror-themed Spider-Man comic book to Marvel Comics, had died of overexhaustion. Never eating or drinking, only working until his body just gave out. I learned this after searching up the forgotten Spider-Man on the internet. An article about the artist being the only thing I could find. There was an image of the artist's desk included in the article, showing an unfinished cover of the book I had read. I was still traumatized by the events of that day, but I couldn't help feeling bad for this artist, as all he wanted was someone to appreciate his work. Now I suppose that I'm that person, because I got this in my mail today, sent in an envelope with no return address. It was the Forgotten Spider-Man issue 1.